Welcome back, everybody, to the Figure Kit Garage for Building a Better Blade Runner Part 3, finishing the skin tones, and an explanation of what happened that caused me to drop the last video. The last video that I dropped was in response to the primer that I had used lifting and peeling off of the bust. And thanks to the help of Paul Gill over at Gillman Productions, who produced this piece, he contacted me the morning that I dropped that video, and offering no excuses in any way, shape, or form, he helped solve the problem of what went wrong. He messaged me, believe it or not, at about 20 after 5 my time on that Saturday morning, and shortly thereafter at about 5:30 he called me and pointed out some things that I could do to figure out whether or not the resin was bad. Now, for those of you new to this hobby, there are instances where during a cast, some of the resin on a kit on the inside may not cure all the way through. Now, when that happens, the resin that's uncured will tend to sweat through the surface of the kit. That being said, primer will not adhere to uncured resin in any way, shape, or form. So Paul gave me a little pointer that once I got Deckard completely stripped down, how I could tell whether or not this kit was sweating resin. So I put this through 3 cycles in my sonic cleaner with concentrated degreaser, got him completely cleaned off, and the little tip that Paul gave to me was using baby powder, sprinkling it on the kit once it had been all dried off, and I let this sit for about 2 days before I did this. Sprinkled baby powder on the front and the back, top, bottom, sides, the whole 9 yards, on both the arm and the bust. And if there was any leaking or sweating resin in any way, shape, or form, that baby powder would have curdled up in that spot. Needless to say, that did not occur. So the resin was not the culprit. After a certain amount of time, it doesn't matter if it's primer, paint, or whatnot. Eventually, a batch, whether you use it or not, will go bad. And if it sits for a long time, temperature has an effect on it, time has an effect on it, it can go bad. That is exactly what happened with Deckard, and that's why the primer started peeling. And I was using Stynylrez Res Gray primer. This is the black, but much like the black, the gray had gone bad. So my thanks to Paul Gill for getting me through that to figure out, was it the resin? Was it the primer? What was the deal? It was a big help. Big shout out to Paul. So what I did on the review recommendation of Jason Walker over at Model Club TV, I decided to spend the $18 and invest in a can of this Monument Hobbies Matte Gray Primer, spray primer. And although it did take about 4 coats to get him completely covered, this primer is fantastic. And I do recommend you use it in a well-ventilated area because it does stink to high heaven. It has a very strong odor. The main reason for the amount of coats on Deckard to get him reprimered was Jeff Yeager has a tendency, whether it's fur or hair, as I kept rotating the piece, I kept seeing areas where the primer did not get in. So it took me a few extra to get him completely covered, but this primer has stuck like glue and then some. So once the primer was laid down, I went through the entire process of repainting the skin tones. Excuse me. And this is the point where we are back to. I'm very happy with the overall turnout on the skin. I changed up the use of the eyeshadow palette for the shadows, and instead I went back to my pan pastels along with the colorless blender to push those shadows back, and I think it turned out even better than before. Adding the redness into the skin, as you probably see, a little bit of a purple bruising little frog under his right eye from his run-in with Leon. I'm going to be adding the cut under his right eye along with a little bit of extra bruising on top just to show that amount of damage. I went ahead and redid the eyebrows, and I was in the process of painting the hair when the primer incident occurred. So I went ahead and went through and redid the entire head of hair in Pro Acryl Dark Umber, and then lightly dry brushed with light umber. And I'm not going to go any lighter than that because I do plan on making his hair slightly wet looking with a satin varnish. So where we're going to pick up right now is we are going to finish the lips, and we're going to base coat and get the eyes started. And once we get that completely finished off, this part will be done. I have been anxiously looking forward to getting back to this, to say the least. I guess you can say having the primer go bad on me irritated the hell out of me to the point where I was bound and determined to get this done after all. So with the lips, I'm going to be using this Createx Bloodlines Natural Lip. Do some very light washes. I believe I'm also going to use Citadel's Reichland Flesh Shade. I'm going to thin both of those down quite a bit. So it goes to show that no matter how good of a painter you are, you can get a curveball thrown at you. It just depends on how well you handle it. And like I said, Paul Gill made no excuses. He gave me the biggest help in the world, and I can't thank that man enough. So make sure that's shaken up well. With my holiday work schedule up and coming, I'll be trying to finish this off as much as I can. It is not going to be easy. I'll be working 12 hours, 5 days a week. It may not sound like much, but believe me, it's enough to wear me out. And I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so I hope you'll excuse the sniffling from time to time. Then I'm going to go ahead and base coat the whites of the eyes. I'll be using Vallejo's new model color, white gray. This is the new formula. You don't want the whites of the eyes absolutely white. They're more of a grayish tone. And I do want to thank everybody that commented on that last video. You know, I appreciate the support a lot. Yeah, I was bummed out about it happening, but you get knocked down, you get up, dust yourself off, and now it's time to kick ass. We'll go with the insane detail brush. I need a little bit of distilled water. I will probably get this out before the end of this weekend, and if I do not get anything else done, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know it's a little bit behind, but I also want to send condolences to the families of Robert Trock, who Scott and Jason had a little bit of a tribute on their latest episode of Model Club TV. Who unexpectedly passed away a little over a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. And as well, a guy that I had the pleasure of meeting and speaking to on several occasions, a guy that I think did one of the best damn dragon kits of all time, the keeper of time, that was Carl Dean Sanders. I was really, really put back by the news of his passing. I had seen him several times at Monsterpalooza. The first time I ever met him was at Imagination Expo 2002, when he released the Keeper of Time kit for the very first time. And I was lucky enough to be one of the people that was able to get a reissue of that kit back in 2016, and no, excuse me, 2017, I should say, 2017. And it is, you know, a kit that I'm gonna be very careful with how I build that. It's not a big kit, but it's got some of the most amazing detail for a dragon kit you would ever see. Move the base off to the side here. Get the brushes out of my way. I'm going to tilt this camera downward a little bit more. That way you guys have a better viewing angle. Go. I'm also using the natural lip for the lower eyelid. This is very thin down. It flows very well. A little bit of cleanup around that eyelid. Looking good so far. And I am going very thin with this white gray. I don't want any unnecessary brush strokes in my paint. Let that dry. We'll start getting the lips detailed. Start with this Reichland Flesh shade. Right. Let that dry for a few minutes. I'm going to seal that off, come back, and then I'll do the wash of the natural lip. Let the whites of the eyes dry just a little bit longer. And then we will come back and get the lips done and get the eyes started. And we're going to start applying the natural lip to his lips. Be very thin down, lightly applied in washes. We're going on a little bit too thick. Try and thin that down just a little bit more. Don't want the lip color too heavy. I think that'll look just perfect like that. See how it looks away from the light. That would be just right. Excuse me. I'm also going to take the time to apply a little bit of this right around the scar area. That looks really good. I'm very happy with that. Now it's starting to look like Mr. Ford a little bit. All right, now I'm going to start blocking in the eyes. And one way I've done this before that I'm going to do again here is I'm going to draw the eyes in with mechanical pencil. And One of the best things you can do, I know a lot of people have problems painting eyes. You don't have to rush. If you practice enough, you won't have a problem painting eyes in any way, shape, or form. And one of the things you can do, like what I've done, is take a up-close photo of your own eyes, like so. And that's what I'm going to use as my reference to place his eyes looking to the right. And to do that, I have to put on my magnifiers to do this, but forgive the camera bump. Very lightly block in where the sclera is going to be. And always remember, if you screw up, you can paint back over the whites of the eyes and start over again. It's not the end of the world. I know a lot of people have switched to using eye decals because eyes are sometimes way too difficult, and I understand that. I don't use eye decals. For me, there's always a certain challenge to be overcome by hand painting my own eyes. I don't know well you can see that, but that's a good beginning. And if I screw up during this paint up of these eyes, well, guess what? I'm going to quite literally paint back over them and start over again right on camera. Because changing the angle of the eyes can give just the slightest hint of emotion or motion to a piece. Like that, we have eyes looking to the right. And quite frankly, with the placement on that, I'm very happy. Just by looking at it, you can see it does kind of that angle, like he's looking at some, looking off at a noise or looking for somebody. But it adds a little bit more life to the character and always have your eyes looking forward. Now, if they're sculpted in, like some kits will have, you can either do one of two things. Go with where the eyes are at and paint them as is. Or if you can sand those eyes down and paint them in yourself and get creative, then why not? It's all up to you. So that right there is the angle I'm happy with. Once I get them blocked in with a dark green, now his eyes are normally hazel in color from everything I've read. I've also read that his eyes change color with what he wears. Apparently Mr. Ford has color reactive eyes. But from what I understand and from a lot of the stuff I've seen, he has hazel green eyes. So we are going to use several different shades of green that have a little hint of brown in them. Not very much. Now I'm going to block them in with my little Army Painter Psycho. The Psycho brush for you guys that do very small detailing, including eyes. This is one of the best brushes out there. It's a sable hair brush. You can get them on Amazon. Although a lot of times when I've gone on there to find this thing before I actually got one, they were sold out. So I did have to wait a little bit. That's one outline done. We're on the right track so far. With the eye placement, I am very pleased with how that looks. I can make that eye just a slight larger to match the size of the right eye. All right, go ahead and fill them in the rest of the way. The dark green I'm using is a simple Vallejo dark, US dark green with a single drop of black. Every time I do eye color, I tend to want to have the darkest part of the eye the same color as the rest. You can just use black, it doesn't matter. All right. It's actually starting to go the way I'm looking forward to, and I like it a lot. That's a really good start. Just looking straight on at the face, he's looking off to the right. So that turned out way better than I could have hoped for. And like I said, you don't have to rush. You're not going to get it right the first time every time. This was a pure stroke of luck that I was able to get it right on the first shot. Has it always been that way? Oh, hell no. There have been some kits where I've repainted the eyes 3 and 4 times before I finally got it where I wanted it. Very happy with that eye placement. All it takes is just a little time and a little patience, and you can accomplish anything. Now this kit is really, really starting to come to life. Move away from the light. Yeah, that looks really good. A little bit more around that outside edge. One thing I am going to do, I want to round out that outside edge on the right eye. It's a little bit misshapen. And we'll correct that right now. And if I have to go back in and readjust the green, so be it. Much better. All right. Seal these off. Come back and start laying down the next color. A little bit of patience, a little bit of time, and everything works out just fine. All right. Excuse me. Now we're back. The flat lacquer is dried. Eye placement. Very happy with. So now we're going to start adding some color into those eyes. And the first color I'm going to use is an olive green. Does have a hint of brown, but it is a little bit lighter than the black green that I use to base coat the eyes. And get started on that. We'll just go little by little. Excuse me. Yeah, the difference between the two colors is not that much. Definitely going to be hard to tell that the eyes are starting to lighten a little bit. And that's olive green. I might try that lush green. It's slightly lighter in tone. Yeah, it's really difficult to see. But the olive will dry completely flat with no shine. First time I'm trying these paints on a kit, so definitely dries as flat as advertised. I'll give them that. Let that sit for a second or two. I'll try the lush green from Americana. See if that changes the tone a little bit. It should. Yep, I thinned that down way too much. But if it dries thin, it might work to my advantage. Might be a little bit too bright. I'm leaving a little dark edge on those eyes. Try a little experiment here. Well, I'll let those eyes dry because it's still a little bit on the damp side. Try mixing a little bit of this olive green and lush green together. Try to find a little happy medium in between. Let that dry. We'll come back and take a look at it. I'm not going to seal it off just yet. I want to see how well that dries down and how dark it gets. We'll just give it just a few minutes. All right. Off camera, after I let the eyes dry, I decided to go back in and remix the color one last time. And I mixed a little bit of the olive green into the lush green, and I added a single drop, or maybe half a drop, of Harvest Brown from Reaper, and it gave me more of a brownish green tone that I'm actually happier with. Not as bright, more medium tone. Sorry about the lighting. See if I can adjust my overhead light a little bit better. So I'm much happier with that. So now I'm going to do the one thing that I'm really not looking forward to, but has to be done. And that is put the black dot in the center of the eye. A lot of times this can get really shaky. but I still have excess paint if I have to correct anything. But I'm going to use this little stylus here on the end of one of my silicone sculpting tools. Just big enough to do the center dot. Now, I've already sealed the eyes off, so if I have to correct anything, and I apologize if my hand's going to be in the way. In case I made a mistake, I wanted to be able to erase what I did. Not 100% perfect. I will have to make a little bit of correction on the left eye. But not by very much. That's the alignment. Now I just got to go back in with this green that I have for his eyes and correct the shape a little bit. See if I can actually remove that without damaging the eye. This is a long shot. Yeah, not gonna happen. Gentle wash of airbrush thinner might do the trick. Not an exact science. Just trying to center that iris a lot better. I apologize for being quiet, but trying to get those irises centered and filled out as much as possible. It takes all my damn concentration. Whew. And the fact I was holding my breath, so once again, I apologize for being that quiet. But that's where we're at. Much better with the irises in. Now I'm going to go in with, let's see here. Go in with this color called Fern Leaf from Folk Art. And we'll do a very light highlight on the left sides of the eye. That's where the light source I'm going to have hitting his eyes from. Appreciate you guys being very patient with me on this. Yeah. Do this the right way. I have a wet palette. That's what it's there for. Mixing in a little bit of the base eye color with this. Just a little bit. I want the highlight to be a little bit more towards the base color than anything else. We'll just go around the outside edges of the eyes on the left side. Turn this upside down. A little bit hard to see that highlight for what it is, but it is much lighter than the regular base color. Then I'll add in the highlight dot right here along the sides. As I said, eyes take patience, pure and simple. Not meant to be quick, and it's not meant to be painless. That's for sure. Are these eyes going to be 100% perfect? No. They're as close as I can get them to be. I won't be glossing the eyes over until the very end. As much flat sealer as I'm going to be using on this guy. It would just be pointless. See, let me look away from that light. I'm very happy with how those turned out. I was bound and determined to get this guy finished on camera after everything that happened, but I'm totally expecting things to go this well. But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. All right. Now I'm going to use Well, I did have Green Stuff World Fang White out here, but I guess I don't. Actually, yes, I do. This won't take very much, but a single drop. So now with a white dot in the eye. Definitely have the angle of looking off to the right. Very happy with how those eyes turned out. Now I'm going to add a little bit of redness to the corners of the eye. Do that. I'm going to use a little bit of this Comart Inner Mouth Flesh. Just have to be really cautious. Actually, I'm going to break out my ultra thin brush that I picked up several years back off of Amazon. An Artegi, hope that's how you say that, Camlon Pro 100/0. Tiny ass little bristles on this thing. Maybe I won't. I'm still seeing. Oof. Need to clean that out better. Still got gold caked up in the bristles. Wasn't aware that there was anything left in there like that. So go back to using my Psycho brush. And well, I gotta clean that thing. I don't even know if they make those anymore. I'm not going to go overboard with the veins. That adds even more motion to the eye. A little bit more detail. Add a little bit of subtle effect into the eyes to give them that look of looking to the right. I'm very happy with these. I was hoping and praying I'll be able to do this on camera without a whole lot of screwing up. But Virginia knew I could do it. I knew I could do it. All you got to do is have faith in yourself and say, I can do it, no matter how many times I have to try. Whether it's one time or 100, eventually you'll get it right. So there we have it. I'm going to seal these off, come back, and I will do a 5 o'clock shadow on him. And then once that's complete, that will be the last part of the skin tones that I'll have to deal with until I do the sheen on his skin, which will be one of the very last two things that I do. And the gloss in the eyes will be the last parts of the skin that'll have to be done. So stick around, we'll be right back, and we'll get him an unshaven look. All right, now that we're back, lacquer's dry, eyes look great. So now we're going to start applying 5 o'clock shadow, and to do that, we're going to use Pan Pastels, Payne's Gray Extra Dark. And use this little shading makeup brush. Just apply this very lightly. I'm not going to do it really, really thick and heavy. Just enough to tint the skin a little bit. Might be a little bit difficult to see on camera. It's definitely darkened the skin in that area where I applied it. May not translate very well on camera while I'm doing this. I can see the color change in the skin tone already. Turn him upside down and try and match that from one side to the other. Kind of unorthodox, but just a little subtle change in the skin tone. Just enough. Let's see here. Trying out one of my feathering brushes here. Let's see. Actually, I don't like that at all. Using a kneadable eraser to remove what I don't like. I may just go without the damn 5 o'clock shadow. Just doesn't seem to work. Somehow I actually think it looks better without the 5 o'clock shadow. Go figure. I may just go without that after all. Just something about the way that was laying down and just did not look right. It looks more like Deckard without the 5 o'clock shadow than it does with. I think it looks way better without it. One thing about pastels, if you don't like what you're doing, kneadable erasers will get rid of that mistake every single time. Yeah, I'll go without it. I like it much better without. That's the way I'm going to leave it. So all that remains for anything on his skin is going to be the cut under the right eye, the sheen on the skin, the gloss in the eyes, and that's pretty much it. The hand is already finished. Very happy with how the veining came out, the discoloration in the knuckles, all the shadows and everything came out really wonderful. So I'm happy with how that looks. And on that note, I'm going to call this video done. So I hope you guys learned something out of this, especially with eye painting. How to handle mishaps. It's just paint. It can be redone. Stripping it down is just a bump in the road that you got to get over. It's going to happen to anybody and everybody. Oops, sorry about the camera shake. I was able to get by this, get him repainted, get him back to where he's at now, and I'm very, very pleased. So with the next video, we're going to concentrate on getting the shirt painted, and I've already chosen the pattern for that, and I'm going to drive myself absolutely crazy trying to replicate it, but that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to take a few days to practice on this, get this right, and we will tackle that in the next video. Then after that will be the trench coat, which will wind up having to be a little bit longer than normal because I'll have to paint part of the coat, detail a lot of it, and then glue and putty his arm to the body. And then I'll have to paint over that as well once that's all blended. But other than that, we made fantastic progress with this series. I'm very happy to be back, more determined than ever to get him done. So for this video, work in progress, Building a Better Blade Runner, Part 3, Deckard returns, finishing the skin tones, and painting eyes. This has been the Figure Kit Garage. Everybody stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Build a kit.